Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yacoub, says it will be difficult to achieve fairly representative elections in the future if the controversy over the creation of new polling units across the country is not adequately resolved. Joining us now to have a chat around this unfolding situation is Dr. Festus Okoye, INEC National Commissioner and Chairman of the Commission's Information and Voter Education Committee. Welcome to the program, Doctor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Okoye, good morning. Very quickly, there's a lot of politics around the creation of additional polling units. And first, what is the justification for the creation of these additional polling units? And we're told that as at yesterday, INEC has received a request for over 9,000 additional polling units, basically for political reasons. Now, what effort is INEC making to ensure, to build a consensus around these additional polling units that have become very controversial?
What we are doing at the moment is to build a national consensus around the issue of establishment of additional polling units in the country. We want to be consultative, we want to be inclusive, and that is why we are talking to all the critical stakeholders in the electoral process. We've met with the political parties. They have endorsed some of the plans INEC has put in place. We've met with civil society groups and organizations. We've met with the media. We've met with the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. And we're also meeting with the different sociocultural groups and the different religious groups. We are going to meet with government agencies and government departments to explain and map out our plans for the establishment of additional polling units. Now, the last time polling units were created in Nigeria was in 1996. That's a quarter of a century ago. At that time, the total registered voter population in Nigeria was 50 million. Now, by 1999, it had risen to 57 million. By 2003, we had a total registered voter population of over 60 million. Now, in 2019, we went into that election with a total registered voter population of 84 million. And the polling units in Nigeria still remain static at 119,973. So for 25 years, we were still operating with the same number of polling units. But in order to deal with this situation, in 2007, the Commission created what we call baby polling units. It didn't solve the problem. In 2011, we created what we call voting points. It didn't solve the problem. Then in 2014, the INEC Commission attempted to create over 30,000 polling units. It was politicized, and maybe because of lack of adequate consultation, it couldn't fly. So as a response to that, in 2016, during the area council elections in the Federal Capital Territory, we created what we call voting point settlements to take care of new areas that have emerged, new settlements that have emerged in Gwarimpa, in Apo, and the rest of them. It didn't solve the problem. So going into the 2019 elections, we went into the 2019 election with a total of 57,023 voting points and voting point settlements. But the tragedy of this whole thing is that these voting points and voting point settlements are still in the same place, in the same vicinity, in the same enclosure, thereby creating confusion on election day, leading to cancellation of votes, and also leading to a situation where pregnant women are unable to vote, lactating mothers are unable to vote, persons with a disability are unable to vote. So we are saying that since Section 42 of the Electoral Act has given the Commission the right to establish sufficient number of polling units and allot voters to them. We want to consult with Nigerians widely and build a national consensus on the need for us to establish additional polling units, take these additional polling units to the people that need them, disperse these additional polling units, and then avoid overcrowding at the polling units. And that's exactly what we intend to do and what we are doing.
I'd like you to address the elephant in the room, which is present in every issue in public discourse these days, that issue of ethnicity and the perception that there's going to be an on equitable sharing of additional polling units. You know, right now, we have been reduced to the level where at every point we must continue to reassure Nigerians that there's no tribal coloration to anything that any public office is doing. Please go ahead.
Now, the Commission is not engaged in revenue allocation. The Commission is not allocating constituency projects. This is not about palliatives. This is about making voting a pleasant experience for the Nigerian people. In Karu area, there's a polling unit we call Maraba Garage 1 and Maraba Garage 2. Between the two polling units, we have a total of 25,000 registered voters in two polling units. And then in the whole of the Karu area, we have only 4 polling units with 70 voting points. On election day, election does not take place. There is confusion. The presiding officers, assistant presiding officers cannot even get into the enclosure where these elections take place. So we are saying, let us remove some of these voting points and take it to the places where people are coming from. Now we have laid bare our plans, and we have produced what we call a discussion document, the state of voter access to polling units in Nigeria. Everything we intend to do is here. So this is not about ethnicity. This is not about religion. This is about expanding access to the polling units to give meaning and value to the vote. Because if you have the right to vote and you don't have access to the voting, to the polling units, the implication is that your access to vote is completely meaningless, is empty, is academic. So we want to give value to the vote. We want to restore the sovereign right of the Nigerian people to vote. We don't want a situation where every year the voter turnout will continue to decrease. We had a senatorial election in Lagos, and the total turnout was less than 10%. And we want to reverse this situation because there's a correlation between low voter turnout and the type of overcrowding we have in the polling units. That's exactly what we intend to do. So this thing is not about ethnicity, it's not about religion, it's not about revenue allocation, it's not about constituency project, and it's not about sharing any form of palliatives. But it's about giving meaning to the vote and allowing people to have a good voting experience.
Dr. Okoye, but the concerns of the people is about gerrymandering. The fact that some specific political heartlands will get more in these units than other people. It's about gerrymandering, and you can't deny that fact. It's already on the table, and that's why a lot of people are pushing back on this. It's everywhere. It happens everywhere in the world. It's happening here already. Some political parties, their heartland, get more polling units than the other. Some tribal extraction, it's about gerrymandering, pump and plain. I also want to ask you about preparation for electronic voting in the next Anambra elections. But at first, I put that to you. It's about gerrymandering. Deny that, sir.
Let me make this point. As of today, the total number of registered voters in Nigeria stands at 84 million. No state will get an additional number of registered voters until we do continuous voters registration, which we are preparing for. The establishment of additional polling units does not confer any advantage on any section of the country or any state. The issue of access to polling units is a nationwide problem, and that's why we want to create a nationwide consensus. And these polling units we want to expand will still be located within the registration areas, or what we call the electoral wards. So it does not confer any form of advantage on any section of the country because it is nationwide. What we intend to do is to make sure that persons with disability can go to the polling units and vote without any distraction. That elderly people can go to the polling units and vote. That people don't have to jump the fence in order to go and cast their votes and then faint in the process. That we cannot no longer have a situation where millions of votes are cancelled because of overvoting on account of using voting points and the rest of them. So that's exactly the point we are making. It doesn't confer any advantage. The advantage it confers on ethnic groups and religious groups and on states are just imaginary. What the advantage we want to confer is to take polling units to the people that need them, and then avoid overcrowding in our polling units, create a safe voting environment. Because in this era of physical and social distancing, you can't congregate 25,000 people in a small primary school and claim that they are voting. So that's what we want to avoid. Now, on the issue of electronic voting in Anambra, definitely we are working towards the deepening of the use of technology in the electoral process. But introducing electronic voting machines does not obviate the need and the challenge of having additional polling units in places that need them. Why should Nigerians walk for 10 kilometers in order to go and cast their votes? I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's completely senseless. And we want to be consultative. We want to be inclusive, but we are going to be firm, because the law has given us the power to establish sufficient polling units and allow voters to them. If the law has given us the power and we are unable to exercise it, that power and that right and that privilege becomes completely empty. So we want to carry everybody along in doing this. So at the end of these consultations, we will now go to the states and also hold consultation with the different communities on where and in the best place to take these voting points to.
Well, Dr. Okoye, well, the concerns about lopsidedness that has been expressed, I don't think it's as imaginary as you are making it. You'll recall that in 2014, Professor Jega had also tried to go the same route of additional polling units. But when it became obvious that the North was going to get over 21,000 additional polling units and the South will get 8,000 plus, people kicked, and that idea was jettisoned at that time. What is the guarantee that this time around, the criteria that you have defined will be acceptable to the people, and you too will not have, under Professor Yakubu Mahmoud, have to jettison the idea? And then very quickly, about the deregistration of political parties. Where are we with that? We have just about 2 minutes.
Well, we are confident that our approach will work. We are consulting, and we are consulting widely. We are not allocating any number of polling units to any state of the federation. The point we are making is that since 2011, we have used voting points and voting point settlements. And these voting points and voting point settlements have become acceptable to the Nigerian people. So what we want to do is to remove some of these voting points and voting point settlements and take these voting points to the people that need them. And that's exactly what we are doing. We believe that in 2014, the 30,000 polling units that Professor Jega and his commission wanted to create did not materialize because possibly they didn't engage in adequate consultation and didn't consult widely with the different stakeholders. We are consulting widely, and we have completely documented what we intend to do and the direction we are going in this particular document, and we have nothing to hide. Everything is on the table. On the issue of the registration of political parties, I mean, there's no doubt whatsoever that Section 225A of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria gives the Commission the power to deregister political parties, and we have done that. Some of the political parties, we are not too happy with the registration. So there are 2 cases pending before the Supreme Court now, and we are waiting for the verdict of the Supreme Court one way or the other.
Dr. Okoye. Let's see what the courts come up with on that particular question. Thank you very much for joining us.